Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of PSTA to order. Thank you all for joining us for our evening meeting. If you would, please rise for a moment of silence, and I'll ask Commissioner Mertz to lead us in the pledge after this moment of silence. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Mertz.
My pleasure.
First item of business is public comment. If you'd like to speak under public comments, please fill out a green comment card available at our front desk, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak on an item. The first public comment is from Sherry Mercier. Yes, right there.
Hello.
Hello, long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a little over a year and a half. Unfortunately, I'm not an early bird, so I can't get to the 9 a.m. meetings. Okay. On this referendum that we're going to be voting for, I'd like for you to consider using a lot of that money to get more trash cans at every single bus stop. Because we have a lot of bus stops with no trash cans, we've got a littering problem. And it could be on you with the litter fines. We need more shelters at almost every bus stop that we can get on all of these routes. And Brad Miller, I got a bone to pick with you on bus drivers.
Okay.
Every time I call in about a couple of bus drivers on Route 75 about issues that I have with them that they're not doing anything right, and the person that answers the phone and writes down all the information and all of that, and they said they'll send it over to the bus driver manager or supervisor or whatever to take care of the problems, like not hooking up wheelchairs right, speeding, not being cooperative. I know this one lady on Route 75, she is, we got her and another guy that have no customer service potential at all. None. They're very angry, and apparently they don't like what they're doing, and I've called up on both of them for wrongdoing. Every time I turn around, I turn them in. No sooner I turn them in, the next time I ride to 75, they're both back driving on the routes. The bus managers and supervisors need to put them on suspension, send them back to retraining for the next month until they get it right. Because I am sick and tired of dealing with these guys. Sick and tired of them. Because they're not good for the riders. They barely answer people's questions. Bless you back there. And, and their attitudes are poor. Especially this lady, I can't think of her name, but she's got hair down to here, she wears sunglasses, and she's got a bad attitude. Every time I have a heavy cart of groceries and I want the ramp down, she gets very upset and starts grumbling. And I think you all know who she is. She needs to be off that route. And we got another guy that is not very nice and very cooperative either, and I can't think of his name, but I could recognize him by his face. I just don't know their names. But they have got to go. We cannot have bus drivers with those kind of attitudes driving these routes and not being able to help senior citizens with their carts and their four-legged walkers and their three-legged moving walkers and things like that, not hooking up wheelchairs and scooters right on the buses, and being a danger and being a race car driver.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can't have it. Can't have it.
We appreciate it, and customer service is very important to us. Our CEO has noted your concerns, and we'll follo up on it.
But it needs to get done,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
we're sick of it.
We understand.
And I'm not the
Commissioner
only
Newton?
one.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I asked this once before. We video monitor those buses, right?
We do have cameras on all of our buses. Yes.
Do we look through that to try to randomly look at what kind of quality we're providing to the end user? Or we don't do that?
We do try to track down every single complaint and try to pull the video and try to watch the video if we get a complaint. So we'll certainly look into the woman's concerns. I see Mike is going back with her now. Another comment she made, just so the board knows, about the trash cans. Certainly we could use some more trash cans around at our 5,000 bus stops, but we are installing, for the first time, trash cans on every bus. Right now, you're not supposed to have an open food or drink and get on the bus, but so the person has a Gatorade bottle and is standing at the corner and then at the bus stop, and then the driver says you can't bring that on there, and they just, there's no trash can. They can't bring it on the bus, so they just toss it. So now there's going to be a trash can, so they can figure out what to do with it and not necessarily litter. So hopefully that will start the process, but no doubt her comments about that and more shelters are certainly valid.
I just want that to be shared for the people watching, that we do record that and we do look at those incidents, so it's not just I don't know, she's alleging that we're sweeping stuff under the rug and keeping people, you know, but I don't, she's talked about suspension, but I don't know what the process is once we do discover something. I'm pretty sure it's handled through the channels.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Newton. Next public comment is Devin Henderson.
I guess I'll have to speak quickly, but please, if you guys do put more trash cans, no more $4,000 solar-powered ones. That's a bit extreme. That's expensive. But hi, my name's Devin Henderson. I'm a college student here in Pinellas County. I rely on public transportation to get around. I've spoken to this board one time before about customer service issues, yet nothing has changed. Us riders are still treated horribly, even more so now from my experience. I also want to bring up a couple more concerning issues today with you guys. Many buses continue to run around empty, while others are packed to an unsafe level. I don't understand how the 52 can be so unsafely overpacked, full, and never on time, yet the 444 rides around my neighborhood empty all day long. Okay? It's still near impossible to plan a schedule ahead of time when you're taking the bus. This is not due to lack of funds, okay? No, the bad experiences that I've had are strictly attributed to lack of competent management and employee training and monitoring. Mr. Newton, the videos are watched on a complaint-driven basis. They're not. You guys don't actively watch them like you should, okay? But, you know, moving on from there, I've tried to reach out to PSTA. The staff seems only concerned with one thing, passing green light Pinellas. Because of this, I've tried to reach out to members of the board. I've tried to contact Janet Long's office several times, talked to her secretary. You met with the president of my college. I was assured you wanted to hear what I had to say and you'd be calling me. I've never gotten a call back. Patricia Johnson, I contacted her. Well, anyways, so, you know, the issues aren't anywhere near solved. In fact, I've not seen any progression whatsoever. I can assure you that based on my experiences over the last couple of years, I'll be voting no on Green Light Pinellas, and I know several other registered voters and riders that will be doing the same. If PSTA would fix these easy and relatively cheap issues, more people would ride the bus, and your budget would get bigger on its own. That's the bottom line. And I think the citizens of this county should force PSTA to reorganize their system the most effective way possible before even considering to ask the hardworking citizens of our beautiful county for any more of our money. You know, you guys aren't running things right as it is, and you're asking for more. That's the bottom line. Also, as a rider, I'd like to tell you we're tired of the scare tactics. We're tired of the loops playing that if this thing doesn't get passed, you guys are cutting so many buses. Let's face it, the ones you're cutting, nobody's riding right now anyways. Please stop with the scare tactics. We don't like it. On a separate note, after some brief research, I came across something rather disturbing I'd like to discuss with you. The city of Largo's just allocated $100,000 for building stops for a light rail. I'm curious, how many other cities have done so far or are planning to do so? How many more hidden costs are going to come as a result of Green Light Pinellas? Seems to me the taxpayers' bill to vote in this tax increase just continues to soar with no results for the riders or the citizens of this county. I hope you guys take this seriously this time. The citizens are fed up with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Appreciate your comments. I think you were at the Seminole campus debate and commented as well. You're the same person, okay. Well, you know, the way that we improve the service in the view of this board is by having a stable funding source that allows us to put the number of buses on the road to provide the amenities that our folks are asking for. The empty bus scenario, we've addressed that on several occasions. If you have some specific issues that you would like for us to address, please send it to me, and I will sit down and take a look at it. But you know, we are responsive to the concerns of our riders, and I certainly take your concerns. I see Commissioner Long walking up to you as well. Take your concerns seriously. But please, for the record, let's be clear, this board has been responsive. We have reduced routes. We've eliminated routes over the years that had lower ridership, and I think this board has acted very responsibly. So if you want to get your concerns to me, I'd be more than happy to sit down with you and take a look at them. I'm assuming Commissioner Long wants to address your concerns as well, so thank you.
With all due respect, I
She's,
disagree.
she's right behind you. If you want to follow up, I'm open to doing that.
Mr. Welch.
Yes. Commissioner Smith.
I would like to address, if he has any concerns with relating to my city, I'd love to contact him, and I would give him all the my staff's contact, and myself, I would love to spend time with him. So I open my dialogue to him and address any issues he has. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Next public speaker is Brandy Miklas.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, Brandy Miklas. I'm here as a member of Connect Tampa Bay and also a resident of the Tampa Bay area. I live in the city of Tampa. I work all over the state, primarily in Hillsborough and Pinellas County, and I drive a lot. I'm fortunate enough to have a car, so I can drive a lot and get not fortunate to drive a lot, I should say, but fortunate to be able to get to where I need to go when I need to go. Sometimes I have a really long delay, but you know, my car is closer to 200,000 miles on it than 150. It just hit 185 actually yesterday. And I just wanted to say that I really am grateful for the opportunity to listen to the speaker we had at 5 o'clock to talk about millennials in transit. The gentleman from APTA, Darnell Grisby, I really enjoyed his presentation, and it really reinforces the need for more options in the Tampa Bay area. And I'm very supportive of your efforts related to the Green Light Initiative. And I just wanted to say, yes, we do millennials, that is, I'm 32 years old, so I still count as a millennial. I had an email address when I was 15. I think I applied for colleges when I using the internet. So, but I just wanted to sum up and say that I do use my car. It's not my preferred choice. I love using transit. I love when I travel to other cities using other modes of transportation, and so even though it is the mode that I use, it's not the mode that I would choose. So, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Good comment. Thank you. Next speaker is Lisa Lanza.
I also wanted to say that I really enjoyed the presentation today. And I wanted to relate a positive experience, and it started out with a negative experience and it turned into a positive experience. I was going to take the PSTA bus down the beach, and I went to the bus station in downtown Clearwater, and there was a sign where they sell the tickets, big sign like this. It said "out to lunch." I was like, I couldn't believe it, handwritten, "out to lunch." So I won't give you all the extra details, but the positive thing, I related it to various people on the board, and I think Mr. Miller also. And now, I don't know if it's when you implemented this, but I've since discovered that you can buy tickets at CVS. And so I went over to CVS now, and I bought my day pass, which I always keep in my purse. And if I ever have an opportunity, or when it will work out, I'll have that pass to use. So I think that CVS option is great. I talked to the clerk, and he said he sells quite a few of them. It's very convenient, and thank you for implementing that.
All right. Thank you for the feedback. We appreciate it. The last speaker I have is Kevin Thurman.
Good evening. It's good to see you all again. My name is Kevin Thurman. I'm the Executive Director of Connect Tampa Bay. We're an organization of over 3,000 members and over 1,000 members in Pinellas that have been very supportive of what you guys have done with Greenlight Pinellas. And one of the major reasons why, actually, is exactly what the speaker was talking about upstairs before this meeting. And I think it's important that you guys spend some time, if you weren't there, to take a look at the data, because one of the most important things you provide is the economic opportunity for newer generations coming up that believe that options are an important thing, that freedom isn't being handed that driver's license at 16 years old, as a lot of them believe freedom is being able to choose how you get from one place to the next. And that's the most important thing, that Greenlight will not only be able to provide people to be able to have more service, that they have the options to do that, but it'll provide people that freedom. And when they come here, they'll be choosing to live here and visit here because they have that freedom to get around. And I think it's one thing that is often forgot, that when we talk about millennials and having those options, we also forget that tourists want those options too, way too often. I know that the Jolly Trolley service is used often by tourists, as people know, but I've ridden buses in Hillsborough County and in Pinellas County a lot since I have a rule. I try to do at least one day a week. We're using the thing I'm advocating for. And almost every single time I am on one of those buses, there's a tourist on the bus with me, and from a foreign country. Because when they go on Google and they look at how to get one place, one of the things it tells them right away, that minute, is you can get there by taking transit. And so they take that choice. And so that experience and the work that you guys are doing to make sure that that gives everybody those kinds of options, so that when they pull that up, they don't see 2 hours or never, which sometimes is possible. If you're trying to get from one bay to the next, if you want to catch a Rays game last minute and you're in Hillsborough County at the zoo, that would be an example of the never. But this is the opportunity to give those options. So it's not just millennials. I think also that the freedom of having those options is something that is vital. And every day that you talk about putting service together, every day you plan for the future, I think that keeping that in mind and that mindset in mind is very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for your work at Connect Tampa Bay. I have no other cards from the public, so we'll move on to the agenda. Next item is awards and recognition, Future of the Region Awards. Sue Landon.
Mr. Chair, if I could just introduce Sue. Sue's going to talk to you about the award that we won about our North County Connector Flex Routes. But I also want to let the board know that Sue, who is one of our longest serving employees, our manager of schedules, has announced her retirement after some 30 years, and hopefully this won't be your last time before the board. But PSTA, as most of you probably have seen from the benchmarking, we are one of the lowest cost operating systems, one of the most efficiently operated systems, and that is due to Sue. Sue controls the schedules, has managed the schedules for a very long time at PSTA. It's going to be impossible to replace her with the technical knowledge that she has. But and she's certainly the mother of these North County Flex Routes as well, and designing those. So,
well, I do bring you good news.
Well, that's it. You can't go.
Thank you. Let's see. How do we get it up on the screen? It'll come up? All right. Well, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council recognizes entities that further the growth of the region through smart planning and improvements that enhance the quality of life in the Tampa Bay area with an annual Future of the Regions Awards. So on Friday, March the 28th, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council hosted a luncheon at the Hilton in the Carillon to honor our recent achievements. This year, PSTA was awarded honorable mention for our 3 very successful connector routes. And I'm going to take a moment just here because I know there's 2 ladies on the board that helped me, which are Susan Letvala and Julie. So these 2 North Connector routes have been introduced since December of 2012. Now, to quote the presenter, in this case, they also do as their name implies, connects to service and locations in nearby Pasco and Hillsborough counties. I'm showing you a ride slide of ridership here that shows the 3 connector routes. And as you see, the most that does the biggest ridership hit is the one that goes to Tampa. This is also the route that goes to Tampa on Saturdays. So I could show you, I didn't show it because I'm mentioning you two ladies. If I reverse it, the ones that know how to ride the route and use the most deviations, 60% is the Dunedin and Palm Harbor. Those ladies and gentlemen and customers, they really know how to call up and get that route at their trip, at their time. Now, present at the banquet was Tamika Gunn, Jeff Thompson, Marilyn Turman, Raj Singh, Leslie Murray, Charlie Thomas, myself, and of course, PSTA's chairman of the board, Mr. Ken Welch. So if those people are in the audience, if they'd like to stand up for a little round of applause. But it takes a whole lot of others in the background, such as Bob Lasher, Juan Luvian, Janet Recca, Cindy Raskin, and Mike Kloss. These people not only helped us with the bus itself, the design. Bob, how many presentations did you make? You couldn't count through the community. So this was a big effort for a success. But I would like to call two special people to the podium, and that is Raj Singh and Gabrielle Donaldson. These two are the shining. Don't be looking as scared as I do. These two work from 6 a.m. in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, Monday through Saturday, making sure that this new service is the best it can be. Their customer service skills and attention to details make the service easy to use and customer friendly. They're my two special stars. They are why the connector service is what it is today.
Yeah.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Sue, thank you so much, and I think the success of the North County routes is really an example of innovation and flexibility and responsiveness by PSTA's administration and staff, and certainly the board. You all did a tremendous job on that. We appreciate it. And let me thank you for your years of service. Brad didn't say when you were leaving. I noticed that.
May 30th.
May 30th.
It's May 30th.
On behalf of the board, let me thank you so much for all of your hard work.
Yes.
We
Very
appreciate
much.
it. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
And you can telecommute, I'm serious.
Okay, on the consent agenda, any items to be pulled? I had a question on C, the FTA designated recipient letter. Is MPO on board with that? Any?
Yes,
Okay.
they are.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. On to action items, 5A, Tiger Grant application and support.
This item is seeking your approval to support an application for our Tiger Grant for funding for our region-wide smart card initiative. This was reviewed and supported by the PSTA Legislative Committee. The deadline for the application is April 28th, and we've been working on submitting this on behalf of a number of the transit agencies in the Tampa Bay. We already have funding to start the smart card project with HART, PSTA, Pasco County Transit, Polk County Transit, and I believe Sarasota is even, at least in one of the phases. This will provide a smart card system, perhaps even, I saw a presentation earlier today, use of your mobile phone that you can use to ride the bus, to just have your fare on your phone to ride any route in the Tampa Bay area, ultimately. Perhaps it can be even coordinated with other, like Sun Pass and other sorts of things like that. The Tiger application will be for $10 million. These are competitive federal grant applications where the minimum application is $10 million, and it has to be of regional significance. And so we could think of no better regional significant project than one that covered the entire region. And so HART And the other transit systems have written letters to support the Pinellas MPO, wrote a letter of support for this, and PSTA will submit the application.
Okay. Any questions? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I wanted to jump back to 4B quickly. The public hearing date for the FY 2015 capital program. That is a meeting on May 21st, which may not have been on your calendars, at 10:30.
That is between the PSTA Finance and Planning Committees. That's how we have done. This is a public hearing that's required by the federal government for our grant application.
Okay.
And so we will advertise it to occur right after the Finance Committee and then right before the Planning Committee.
Does that require a quorum for PSTA?
No.
It does not? Okay.
No.
All right. Okay, let's go to 5B, Green Light Financial Policies.
Yes, I want to introduce Debbie Leas, our Chief Financial Officer, who will walk through two recommended financial policies for your approval. The Finance Committee reviewed and recommends these as well.
Okay, thank you very much. And I don't know why people ran out when you said I'd be going through this down here. They went the other direction. Well, some of the things we want to make sure we have in place, policies and procedures that relate not only to reserves, but to the debt and liability management policies. And Ernst & Young had made recommendations as they went through the feasibility analysis to set up different reserves that we should have in place. In addition, the interlocal agreement with Pinellas County requires the county approval of policies. And we're taking a look at this debt approval, trust agreements, the interlocal agreement, and we're also going to review with them the investment policies and the reserve policies. As I mentioned, there are 3 different reserves that we want to set into place, and actually some of which we already have. One is the Revenue Stabilization Reserve Fund. One is the Operating Expense Reserve Fund, which we currently have a policy in place that recommends a 2-month operating reserve. What we're recommending here is a 3-month operating reserve, and then a Debt Service Reserve Fund. The Debt Service Reserve Fund is set up once we have issued debt, specifically bonds. The Revenue Stabilization Reserve Fund is for the times, assuming Greenlight Pinellas passes and we're collecting the sales tax revenue. In the E&Y study, they looked at it and said, we're anticipating a 3% increase each year in sales tax revenue. If it goes above the 3%, we're going to take the delta, the difference, and we're going to set it aside in the Stabilization Reserve Fund. For those times when it doesn't reach 3%, we can always go to this for a conservative approach to being able to have these funds set aside. As I mentioned, in the Operating Reserve Fund, we currently have it set at 2 months. We're going to increase that to 3 months to be even conservative. Again, Debt Service Reserve Fund is exactly what it sounds like. We set aside funds when we issue debt so that the bondholders know that in times of crisis or emergency, there's a reserve fund set up to always make certain we have the debt service paid. On the master liability debt management side, PSTA has always been on a pay-as-you-go basis, and this will be the first time going forward that we'll be issuing debt. So I wanted to make sure we had something in place that gave parameters within which to issue the debt. And I wanted to make sure we have transparency in doing this and board approval before we do anything on any debt. What I wanted to do is, again, set the parameters, the borders in which to do this. I don't want to issue any debt that is speculative in nature. I want to make sure that it is something very simple in nature. And once we've issued debt, if we refinance it, we achieve at least 3% savings. This will help us to control our cash flows and match our cash flows with our debt service payments. I want to make sure through these policies that we conform to all rules, regulations, policies, procedures, federal, state, and local. And most importantly, these policies set accountability for PSTA and accountability to all those stakeholders that have money invested in us. Basically, this is what I've said. And I just wanted to see if there's any questions regarding this on either the reserves or the debt management piece.
Okay, thank you. That was painless.
It was.
Any questions? Commissioner Rice?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The operating expense reserve fund that we are going to move up to 3 months instead of 2, does having 3 months, does that do anything positively, or is it neutral in how it may affect our bond rating status?
Certainly that would help. I think when the bond rating agencies take a look, there's a multiple factors that they look at. Everything from how we do our construction contracts to our debt service reserve funds, the flow of funds. There's a whole host of things. Certainly having 3 months would be helpful.
And what is 3 months operating expenses?
Well, we have about 63 million, so it'd be it's worth
10
that.
million,
So.
$15 million.
Yeah, 15 million. And we also, just so you know, we also have currently set aside reserves for our self-insured retention. And we also have a reserve fund set aside anytime we have a federal asset that goes out of service prematurely, we set aside the value of that to be used in future federal funds. So we already do have several reserves set up.
And,
Yes, ma'am.
and those reserves you just mentioned also are housed in the operating expense fund?
Those reserves are within our balance sheet. And what I'm going to do as part of the reserve policy is bring to the board on a quarterly basis a report that'll show you all the funds that we have, what has been reserved legally, what is reserved at the discretion of the board, and what is undesignated.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Long?
Yes, and I am so sorry to ask you this, but for some reason, on this side of the room, what you just said was a little muffled. So
I'll
could you
repeat
go
it.
back and repeat the different reserve accounts that you just spoke to?
Certainly. Currently, right now, we have an operating reserve fund of the 2 months. We currently have a reserve for a self-insured retention. That's for our insurance policies. And then the third is for FTA funds. Anytime an FTA-funded asset goes out of service prematurely, we take the value of the remaining life and we set it aside in a reserve fund to be used for future FTA-funded projects.
So I would think that that's a pretty financially solid management practice of PSTA and the board, and that it certainly speaks to the credibility of how well it's all functioning.
Right,
At least that's what it says to me.
I can tell you, not every transit agency has reserve funds for operations.
I was just going to ask you if that was the norm in the industry.
No, and I think that's a very conservative, excellent practice that's been set into place for many years here.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for all you're doing
Thank
in
you,
that
Commissioner.
regard.
Brad had a comment, and then we'll go to Commissioner Mertz.
And I think Commissioner Long sort of spoke to it. The reason that this is before you tonight for approval, we are going to be bringing to you next month, as well as go to the county commission, an interlocal agreement related to the green light plan. And the interlocal agreement is the contract and how the sales tax funds will flow from the county to PSTA to fund the green light plan. There's a whole number of provisions in that agreement. One very important one is the requirement to eliminate the PSTA ad valorem property tax. There's a lot of other very important provisions in the agreement that will provide accountability. I think a very strong level of accountability over the PSTA and the future of future PSTA to make sure we can implement the green light plan as the voters would support. In the agreement, the county, one of the clauses in the contract, in the interlocal agreement, is for the county to approve and get to review all of these different policies. The debt policy, the reserve policy, and also the investment policy. So that's why we're asking you to approve that tonight, so that we can then ship. We've already sent it actually to the county. They have it, but it'll be part of embedded in that interlocal agreement as well. So it is a very important part. It does show our accountability. The reserve, both policies were recommended by Ernst & Young, our financial group that reviewed the whole financing plan for the Greenlight Pinellas plan, and they have been all along reviewing and helping Debbie with developing these two policies.
Okay. Thank you, Brad. Commissioner Mertz?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excellent presentation, thank you. I got a question on the wording on Resolution 1403. I don't know if that's something that we could discuss now or we
Yes, sir.
discuss it later. Again, not being an accountant or an attorney, I'm not really sure if this is, but the wording to me in the second sentence where it says the second whereas, it says PSTA will likely issue debt to fund the Greenlight Pinellas plan. Is there such a thing as likely issue debt, or is that just perhaps will the first issue need to be removed and PSTA will likely issue
Oh,
debt?
there are too many issues in there.
Too many issues,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
There's a,
The first issue.
that's a typo. I thought we had corrected
Okay.
that, but apparently it
Okay.
still came through, so.
Strike the first issue.
All right, thank you.
Great catch, Commissioner.
Well, I kind of fell over it when I was reading it, and I wasn't quite sure. Thank you.
Any other questions or corrections? If not, is there a motion for the two resolutions?
Move approval.
Second.
You need to read it?
Yes,
Okay.
we'll do one at a time.
Okay, so you want separate motions? Or
Yes.
you want motions first or after you read it?
You can take a motion first, doesn't matter.
Move
Okay.
approval of the first one.
Second.
Okay, that's for the master liability debt management policy.
All right, Resolution 1403.
Okay.
A resolution of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority Board of Directors adopting a master liability debt management policy and providing for an effective date.
Is that as amended, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, that's just a typo correction that will.
Okay. So we had a motion and a second on that. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry?
Public comment.
Okay, any public comments on resolution 1403?
Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Resolution 1404.
Resolution 1404, resolution of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority Board of Directors amending Resolution 9705 as amended by adopting a new reserve policy and providing for an effective date.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I've got too much coffee, obviously. Any public comments? Okay, seeing none, let's do it again. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thanks for your work on this. This is another step forward. We now move to informational items. Mr. Miller?
Yes, the first informational item is at your places in a large, colorful 14 or 18-inch paper. It's our draft capital improvement program, and Debbie Elias has I believe you have a brief presentation on this. This was reviewed by our planning committee. The board approves the capital improvement program as part of its annual budget, a 5-year capital improvement plan this fall, but in advance of the public hearing on the first year of our CIP, which will go to public hearing for the federal grant purposes, we provide the draft to you now.
Okay, thank you. As Brad said, we're required to have the public hearing going forth on May 21st, and that's a FTA requirement. But one of the things I just want to make clear is we are working on our 5-year CIP, updating it. You've already approved the 5-year CIP during the last budget process. We're going through looking at that. But there are two other elements that are in here that we look at, what's called the unconstrained CIP or capital improvement program, and that relates to any projects that we have for which we do not yet have funding. And then the third piece is the E&Y financial plan, which goes out to 2050. And what I'd like to do is come back to the board and to the finance committee this summer and present a CIP that reflects what happens when Greenlight Pinellas passes. Now, what we've got before us today and on your sheets is we are looking to bring to the May 21st the 2015 Program of Projects from FTA. This is their 5307 money, and it is at $12,500,000 $527,145. This is up 3.9%, or $467,410 since last fiscal year. The key program changes are that we now have an additional $495,821 for additional bus replacement, and we've lessened the amount that we are using or converting towards operating assistance by $241,950. Out of the $12.5 million in your package, you'll see we've got it spread out between things such as preventative maintenance, tire leases, different rehab projects, computer software, a variety of things, short-range planning and transit studies. And I just want to take a moment and talk about the importance of the money and how we allocate it. Out of the $12.5 million that we get, we want to be able to put as much as we can towards capital. A couple reasons are we want to make sure we're in a state of good repair. The other thing is it can also garner us additional monies as we look to have the state or other funding agencies match it. And on the chart that you see on the screen, you will see there was a divergence of the lines in 2012, for fiscal year ending 2012. What is key about that is Brad Miller came on board during that time frame. He's shaking his head at me, but it's true. And one of the things that he brought to the board, and the board approved of, was the fact of using less money towards operations. Not that we're not operating and maintaining our buses, but just taking the allocation within the federal transit funds and putting more of it towards capital. Matter of fact, we've been able to, since then, reduce the amount towards operations by 35%. What that does is allow us to put more money towards capital, to the tune of an additional 66% over that time frame. So we also have other federal funding within the capital projects, one of which is our Section 5339 bus and bus facility funding. And in there, we have money for the replacement of 40-foot buses to the tune of $2.8 million. We also have FTA Section 5310, which is the enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities. This is administered by FDOT, and we have $523,000 in the capital program for mobility management and the expansion of our connector bus services. Again, this is our timeline that we're looking at. The public hearing on May 21st, approval by the board in May, and then the full 5-year capital plan will be brought to the board in September. Are there any questions on the CIP?
Thank you, Ms. Leos. Any questions?
Yes,
Commissioner Mertz?
I have one. Slide, I don't know, it's on my page 39, but it talked about $12.5 million in Section 5307 capital improvements. Am I right in assuming what we did under 4C was allow us to go after those?
This is basically, we've put the application in for these funds, and this allows it to go forward, and we'll be bringing this to the public.
So,
Mr.
oh, do we, is this?
Item 4C was the designated, becoming a
I'm
designated
sorry,
recipient.
I didn't have that in front of me.
Right.
What was approved in item 4C was asking the DOT, the governor, who makes the decision for PSTA to become a designated recipient of federal funds. That will essentially allow the flow of not the 5307 funds, but the next slide on her, the 5339 funds to flow directly to PSTA instead of throwing through the MPO. So it'll streamline the process. The MPO is supportive of that because the funds had to be spent on buses.
Okay. So this $12.5 million under 5307, is that a?
That's
is
a
that
formula
guaranteed?
that already comes to PSTA.
It already comes
Yeah.
to PSA. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Mertz. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let's move on to 6B, Greenlight Public Engagement Update.
I believe most of you perhaps have met Katie Franco, who is with PSTA on a temporary basis, serving as in replacement of Miss Cassandra Borchers, who is hanging out with her baby in between meetings about green light and other things.
And I apologize once again, I don't have baby pictures of the new baby. So I'll have to make sure she brings the baby or at least have some pictures. I just wanted to spend a couple minutes just giving a quick update on the public engagement efforts that we've been focused on here at PSTA. The PowerPoint's coming up. Just a minute. Oh, do I have to bring it up? Sorry. I thought it was just magical. It's right there on the front one. Okay, sorry about that. So here's just a high level kind of where we are right now in our public engagements efforts. These are some of the numbers that start to illustrate the impact we're having. Our Facebook followers are close to 4,000, Twitter we're almost at 1,000, but our website visits, which I think really tells the story of the people who are seeing our material and going to learn more about the plan. This number, this 2748, is just for the month of March. That's a big number of folks who are coming to visit and view the plan and find out more information. And overall, it's 2,748 clicks on the page. That's how many different views they looked at, how many different pages they went to, that 6,000 number. And then we've been at over 300 events this past year, handing out information. And we are estimating at this point in time, we've reached about 92,000 folks. So there's still a lot of education and work to do. This is a big county, but we're definitely starting to crack that nut. This is a quick map, and I apologize for the little bit of a grainy photo, but it starts to show you where some of the local endorsements are coming from. The darkest green shows both where the cities and the local chambers have endorsed the plan, and the light green is just where the city or just one or the other has endorsed, and the lighter areas or the white areas are where we're working on it. This does not show Bel Air Bluffs. That came on late last week. And we've got about 9 more meetings that are coming up in the next, the rest of this month and early in the month of May. And many of you, thank you, you've been very involved in this process and will continue to help us as we're moving along to continue to pick up those endorsements. This is a quick look at a refreshed website. We're taking the Greenlight Pinellas website and refreshing it a bit to reorganize the information to make sure that what people are looking for they can find quickly. Since this is a big piece of information where we're driving a lot of traffic, we're really putting some thought and time into making sure it has the right information in the right spots. This is just a couple quick glimpses of how this will look. That top is a slider that will change each time. And then here's some of the information on the underneath that will start to pop out. So as people, these are some of the top things that people are looking at the maps and things like that. We want to make sure it's as easy as possible. And then I'm sure many of you have seen is that we've also been out there doing some advertising for the to draw more attention to our website. This is the ad that's running on Bay News 9 on their website. And this is an ad that's running on both the Tribune and the Times online, the digital versions. And we're getting lots of hits off these. They're very successful for us and drawing a lot of attention to the plan. And of course, we all see these every day as we drive around. We're on the back of the buses and reminding folks again what this is and what's coming and what the options are and to find out more about it. And this document, we have plenty of copies if anyone needs any more. This is our 20-page bound plan that kind of walks people through step by step. We're having a whole family that comes out with this, which is also a one-page brochure. So 6-fold, that'll be easy to hand out, a little bit lighter to carry than a big box, as well as a palm card and a couple other options. So whatever events or different kinds of information we need, we're finding different people are looking for different events, and many of you have asked for different things for different audiences. We want to have a good stock of those just to hand and go. And then, as we said, there's 300 events. Every weekend we're out in the community. This past weekend I spent a couple hours in St. Pete at the Earth Day Festival and had a great attendance and answered a lot of questions. I was impressed in both the number of questions and the different questions I got. Everything from how soon, what kind, how do I ride it, what's the impact. So it was really great events to be out in the community, and the PSTA staff is working hard and out there every weekend. So that's my quick update.
Thank you for the update. Y'all are doing a great job. Voting is about 5 months away by my count in terms of early voting starting, but I think Director Grisby at the presentation really spoke to how we need to approach getting the right information out there to folks and just be factual and stick to our plan. So y'all are doing a great job. Questions, comments, Commissioner Newton?
Yes, I would just encourage my colleagues, if you can, go and support the presentations wherever they may be. I've been as far as, where is it?
Dunedin.
City called Dunedin.
At 7
Yeah, it's so far away from you, way down there.
7 in the morning, but and also woke up Commissioner Welch to get directions. So I thank him. But it's really refreshing when they're obviously presenting to other elected bodies, people just like us who have a constituency to answer to. They have questions that sometimes they want to know different information from I guess the elected point of view, not just from Brad or anybody else. So it's great to be able to support them on that, the what ifs, and because they're getting a lot of information, a lot of misinformation from other sources too. So you have to clarify that for them so they'll know exactly what's going on. And I find it refreshing. It's late nights, but it's rewarding, and we enjoy it.
Thank you, Commissioner Newton, and I appreciate you and the other board members attending those presentations. It's very important, and we are getting good response. Commissioner Barkley.
I would just, excuse me, just like to say that we were successful in getting through the Bel Air Bluffs resolution. It was a 3-2 vote. Unfortunately, the Times primarily focused on the 2 negative voters, but I think it's important that we continue to press in each of our cities to get that resolution passed, and also to keep on top of making sure that the reporting is accurate. That's very important as well, so we don't get any misinformation out there.
Thank you. Great job. Keep up the good work.
Chair, you got people this week. So.
Okay. Commissioner Smith, I'm sorry.
Yes, good presentation. Got a couple questions. The 3,916 followers, is that all the sites or just on the green light?
Just on the green light.
Oh, wow. And the next one is, when does the new website go live?
I believe we're in the final stages of getting that done, and we're hoping that early next month that's up and going.
Now, will we get a presentation of what it looks like before it goes live, or kind of insight? I know my city, when they put things out, they kind of get it to us so we can have an insight a little bit before it gets out there to our citizens. So I didn't know if that's how it would work.
I'm sure we can
Yeah, I think we can
send some.
technically do that.
Yeah.
If you could, if not.
Send a link of the draft.
Yeah, and the third is the map of all the cities and the ones we're going after. A little bit of me is a little kind of wanting to, can we put in here showing what cities have been against it? Because I think this is great showing what's for it, but also showing what cities have not supported it. So when people look at it, they can say, okay, majority of your cities and bigger cities and your little, Bel Air Bluffs just came on, which I'm not saying little, but, and the beaches, you could show a distinguish of which ones are supportive.
Yeah, and I think at this time, we haven't had anyone not support it.
But in the future,
The map
if
does show
anything,
that because none of them
Not
have
gonna be
been
any.
affected.
if there are, I'd like to, if we could distinguish that.
Putting that good karma out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last one I had was, this is not onto this a little bit, but DOT with Senator Brandis thing, how's that going?
Our CEO is going to speak to that after the question.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Smith. Any other questions on this side? Okay. Speak to the FDOT audit review.
As I know all of the PSTA board members know, because I sent you a copy of the letter I received from from Senator Brandis, who had requested that the Florida Department of Transportation Office of Inspector General conducted a review of PSTA's expenditures on the Green Light Pinellas Plan informational outreach. The auditors, I met with, had a number of conversations with the OIG's Office of the Florida DOT. Specifically, the DOT's Inspector General investigates the use of state DOT dollars. And actually, PSTA has not used any state grant dollars on the Green Light Plan initiative. I was up in Tallahassee last week, and I met directly with the OIG office, and we had provided that information. They subsequently sent their auditors down and have already completed the desk audit of PSTA on this. They, too, at our request, are moving very quickly to complete the investigation. They understand, and they confirmed, that no state dollars have been used on the Green Light Pinellas Plan initiative. However, they also had a meeting with Senator Brandis, and Senator Brandis also knows that and wanted a broader investigation. It's not necessarily under their official purview, but they do try to answer other questions that come up when they're doing audits outside of their normal scope, and so they will certainly, and we provided them all the information that they need, all of the accounting, what we have spent funds on, the approval by the Federal Transit Administration on how we spend these funds. They have all of that. They have all of Alan Zimmett's materials on that he presented to the PSTA board on what we understand the law to be and how we comply with the law. They have all that, and they will provide some of that information in their report. They are required by state law to follow a very specific timeline on issuing their reports. They give PSTA 20 days to provide a response, and then they provide a response to our response, and then they put it on their website. What I imagine is that we will have a draft of the report pretty quickly, but then this sort of state mandated timeline will extend. But again, the audit, at least, or their review that occurred last week, I think Debbie can answer any other specific questions about, but it went very well, and they were very, I think, pleased with the information we provided them.
Thank you, Brad. We many times went through what was legal, what we could do in terms of education versus advocacy, and I think we're on very solid ground. There's that sign that says "Be calm" and whatever. You've seen those signs, "Be calm." I want, if I had any skills in software, I would have done a green "Be calm" and stay focused for us, because that's what we need to do. This is a distraction, in my opinion. Really no basis in it, in my opinion. Polk County has allocated more than $200,000 for their educational campaign. They are not being reviewed, so we'll let it run its course, and we'll keep moving forward. We know that what we're doing is correct. It's about learning about the Green Light Plan. That's what this is about. So I saw some hands on this side. Commissioner Long.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Welch, for that calming message. It certainly doesn't fit with where I'm going right now. So I'm going to try to calm myself down. And while I respect the fact that Senator Brandis is a state senator, is he not also the chairman of the Transportation Committee?
I believe so.
It seems to me, I could be totally wrong, it's a little bit of a stretch where he's going in this request, since there are a majority of elected officials on this board, and I find it somewhat personally offensive that the insinuation is that we're somehow trying to intentionally break the law. So I just had to say that because it is a distraction, and it is very definitely an effort to try to put brakes on our initiative. I can't help that he doesn't like transportation options. He has a right to his own opinion. But it's a little bit of a browbeating effort, in my opinion.
Commissioner, I agree with you, and my plan with your concurrence is after this is completed to pen a letter on behalf of PSTA in response. Their initial letter did come to me as chair. You all should have a copy of it. Responding to that and you know, just making some statements that we've always complied with the law, that in my opinion this was subjective, and so that's the plan. Just let the review happen. I'm sure we'll get a clean bill of health on it, and then we'll move forward.
Thank you.
I saw another hand over here, Commissioner Newton.
Yeah, I share your concern, Jan. I'm fresh back from Tallahassee 2 days. I spent last evening in the company of Mr. Brandis. I was up there advocating for juvenile justice issues and told him some of my concern of all these young people we're locking up, and his answer was we ought to do a research study or a workshop or something about marriage in Midtown. So,
What?
yes, that's the way you answered it. That's going to be the answer to all that's going on. I know, but that's what you get from him. So I'm not surprised about the scratch that you're talking about. I was just with him. But Mr. Chair, you touched on it a little bit. I want Brad to also share that, and also Alan can probably chime in, that we've done nothing wrong with any funds. I don't want them to say just because of state funds, that the funds that we're utilizing, that we doing something inappropriate, because that's what's going to come out of these YouTube videos you see going on around the room. You know, so I want to be clear on that. And Janet touched on it also. We all elected officials, we're all bound by the ethics out of Tallahassee, and we do our job for the taxpayers to the best of our ability. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on that? Commissioner Barkley?
I, excuse me, just have two quick comments, Mr. Chair. First, I just need to double check with council. Aren't a lot of these questions superseded by federal guidelines and rules that we're being subjected to at the state level? That's one question. And the second question, if we go through these normal time frames of going through each of these iterations of reports, responses, does that put us very close to the time frame where we're into the final stretch on the Green Light Pinellas program will slow us down?
At least on your second question, the auditor's office has assured me they will expedite the process and get us the draft report in the next 60 days. Well before.
So we'll have the completed report within that time frame.
That's their hope,
Okay.
yeah.
All right,
Also.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner.
The
Did
answer
you want
to
to
the
answer
first
that,
question
Counselor?
is with regard to the specific issues to this audit, the answer would be no. The state, we're still governed by the state statute that governs the expenditure of public funds as it relates to referendum campaigns.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Blajowski?
I really tried to stay out of this. You know, give it the least legs. 60 days, you said, Brad, but you also said earlier that there's an attempt to expand the report. Or review. Is that going to happen, and then does that not fall into what Commissioner Barkley was referring to, extending it out even farther?
That's not my understanding. I don't know if they, the auditors, when they were here, Debbie, they said anything else. They've already completed they've already come here to PSTA, spent the day. We've given them all the reports that they asked for.
Then what is the extended review? Or is that just not happening?
What I meant by saying that was that what they told me was that the Inspector General of the Department of Transportation's purpose is to inspect the use of state funds,
Right.
state DOT funds.
I understand.
And even though PSTA provided them, to Commissioner Long's comment, all the information on all the funds we have expended, whether there's
State or
no
not.
state funds, there's federal funds that we have used. We provided them all those approvals and everything, but all of that they have it all, and so.
That should answer all the questions. Okay, thank you. I just needed that clarification.
Thank you, Commissioner Blajowski. Anything else on this issue? All right. Thank you for that, Commissioner Smith.
Sorry.
We'll now move on to item 7, PSTA performance report and updates. Mr. Miller?
That is in your packet.
Okay. Any questions on that? Now let's go to future meeting subjects.
Again, a key item that's going to be coming back to the PSTA board at your next meeting is this interlocal agreement with Pinellas County. The county held a workshop yesterday to review the nearly completed interlocal agreement that the county attorney's office and Alan Zimmett and his firm we have worked out. So I think it's a very solid agreement, and it'll be ready to go next month.
And that seems to be going very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, any other business? If not, we'll move to board member comments. Commissioner Diamond.
No comments, thank you.
Commissioner Long?
I don't have any. I've already made them. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Only comment I have is we heard from a regular rider today about cross-capacity concerns on certain routes, and that seems to be a bit of a recurring theme in public comment, and I know that's something that's going to be on the one of the upcoming Finance Committee agendas, and I look forward to that discussion because I think we need to make sure we're doing everything we can in that area. So,
thank you, Commissioner Scott. Commissioner Smith?
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Rice.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to quickly add a big thank you and gratitude for the great work that Sue Lanham has done for us in her service as a staff person to PSTA, and also a big thank you for the many other people that were recognized with the Future of the Region Awards. It's really clear that there's some excellent staff people all pulling on the same side of the rope, working together for PSTA, and as one of your board members, I greatly appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rice. Commissioner Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too want to echo those sentiments to all the PSA employees. I know you do a great job. You come to work every day for the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, and I reiterate that it's a transit authority. It's not just a bus company. Just like it was iterated the NPO to me by the Florida Department of Transportation. The Florida Department of Transportation, not the Florida Department of Roads. So we got to be mindful of what we're getting into. Transit and also transportation. All modes. I want to thank the following employees, and we did hear some comments, and we do take those seriously from the people that come. We want you to continue to share them. We don't ridicule you for coming forward. That makes us be a better, hand out a better end product, and it helps us when we don't see things and to be brought to our attention. But we did have 24 employees that received accommodation. 23 of them were bus drivers, and I do want to announce their names, so bear with me while I hose up your name and take it out of love. Floyd Bell, Derek Boyd, Joseph Calaro, Elizabeth Cater, Patricia Davison, Donald Dillon, Yolanda Gibson, I'm going to say Nico Ann Haraji, James Lindsay, John Mooney, Eugene Noble, he had 2, Doug Oakley, Julia Palmer, Norman Pinnick, Melissa Pitts, Jeffrey Smith, John Santiago, Roger Stoneman, Christopher Tremel, Chester Tonsil, Vance Wagner, Donnell Wilson, he had 2, Osa Wilson, and Dina Hayes. I want to thank you for all you do. You guys are PSTA. We're just a board, and sometimes you're the only PSTA the customers see. So I thank you for doing your job to the best of your ability, and just be mindful that this is for a lot of the people. This is the only means of transportation they have, and you have to a good smile. It doesn't cost you nothing to smile, and doesn't cost you nothing to say hello or good morning. So I thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Newton. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My apologies for my tardiness, but I have a really, really great excuse. My son is on the high school wrestling team. Therefore, I have to raise money for the boosters and had to go to an event for that. Mom could not show up for that, so my apologies, but I made it here in record time without speeding. So my apologies for that. I hope everyone had a great Easter, and that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you. At last meeting, I thanked the PSTA Planning Department for their coordination with FDOT and also reaching out to the City of Clearwater's Planning Department for discussions on the US Highway 19, land use development and circulator and accessibility projects. And that reached another higher level when the meeting included now the MPO, thank you, Ms. Ward, and the PPC, and I'm very pleased with that, and I'm very hopeful that that will be moving along with due speed. So thank you to staff on that.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mertz.
Thank you. Two things. One is a comment. I just want to thank the board again for this evening meeting. We only have two of them. It helps me out immensely, and it also helps out, I'm sure, many other people who can't make it during the day. So it gives an opportunity for other people to come and speak, and that is
Sure
excellent.
does.
So thank you all for
You
being
still got
willing
to
to.
take them. You still got to take them home because the buses already stopped running.
Uh-oh. We'll have to see what we can do about that. And then the other thing I wanted to share was just a positive experience. Back on the 24th of last month at 11 o'clock, 11:03 in fact, I got an email from one of our residents in Tarpon Springs, and being a Tarpon Springs also representative, it was sent to me, and it was talking about a bus stop at PSTA's Route 66 in Tarpon Springs with some trash issues associated with it. And it went on to describe it, and it ended with, and if I can be of any further assistance, please feel free to call me at a number. In the interim, I'd appreciate if you could advise us as to what to do and what PSTA could do about this. Thank you for consideration, and do it sincerely. I forwarded it to Brad. Brad wasn't in at the moment, but he already had it forwarded that it went to James Bradford. James replied at 12:14. Thank you very much for alerting of this issue. My apologies at any delays, and have contacted the facilities department asking them to take care of it. 8:28 that same evening, I get an email back from the resident gentleman. The facilities department came out to the Dodecanese stop today, removed all the trash from the site, and cleaned up the surrounding area. I want to thank you for your resolve and for addressing our concerns so quickly. We are very fortunate to have leaders like yourselves representing our community. If you ever need volunteers for any projects, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, I'm very thankful for your assistance today, and will be sure to let others know how responsive you are, and it best regards. So I
Nice.
just want to say thank you very much to staff and for doing that. And obviously, running an operation like this is very difficult, and there's difficult times and positive times, and it's good to hear both of those.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that forward.
Yep.
And thanks to our staff as well.
Yes.
Commissioner Barkley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd just like to say what a tremendous turnout we had on our Green Light Pinellas plan for as it impacts some millennials. I hope to have other kinds of meetings like that. That was very well done, very informative, and those kinds of meetings I think will really help to spread the word on what kinds of positive impact Green Light Pinellas can have. Secondly, as was mentioned a few minutes ago, I was pleased to get my very small city of Bel Air Bluffs resolution passed, even though the Times got it wrong, but that's all right. And the third thing that I just wanted to say is I was lucky enough to present the Green Light Pinellas program last night to the Pinellas County Now group, and it was very well received. And what I learned from that particular meeting, more than many others that I've attended, is that in that particular case, there were a lot of people who were misinformed or underinformed, and we really have to work very hard on our education process. We've got a lot of work to do over the next few months to get this program out to all the people.
Absolutely. Thank you for your leadership. Every city counts. We appreciate it. Commissioner Dayton?
Yeah, for the last couple of meetings, we have had presentations by the folks from Pepper Contracting talking about the amount of money that they would like to receive. I hope not getting ahead of things here. But the gentleman was very critical of Mark Knight, and I got to tell you that when we first had the project presented to us, or the question presented to us in the finance meeting about the oil spill, it seemed to me that we were really bending over backwards to be fair with with Pepper. Apparently we bent, but we didn't break, which is good. The gentleman had some suggestions for us based on his experience, but I would like to just bring up our experience, which is that Mark Knight brought this project in on time and under budget. And this is no small feat. So I think we do owe Mark a vote of thanks for a job well done. And if he had to ruffle a few feathers in the achievement of that, so be it. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Dighton. I think that's well stated, and I'm sure several of us have spoken with Brad about that, and Brad is confident that the behavior and the relationships were appropriate. We haven't had those same kinds of complaints from other partners that we've worked with. So thank you for bringing that forward. We appreciate it. Commissioner Latvala.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing.
Okay. I just want to again thank our staff for all their hard work, and I think the presentation today was outstanding. Thank you for pulling that together, Brad. And stay calm and stay focused, and appreciate all your work. Having no other business, we're adjourned.